I was in a coma for 2 weeks. My family thought I couldn't hear them. They were dead wrong. To understand the horror of a coma, you have to understand that your mind doesn't just switch off. 3 weeks ago, I was involved in a severe hit-and-run on my way home from work. The impact caused massive trauma, and the doctors placed me into a medically induced coma to let my brain heal. To the outside world, I was a vegetable, a blank face hooked up to tubes and machines. But on the inside, I was trapped in a dark, suffocating prison. I couldn't see anything. I had no sense of time, but my hearing was razor sharp. The human brain is strange. When you lose your sight and your movement, your hearing amplifies to an almost terrifying degree. I quickly learned the rhythm of the ICU. I knew the exact footsteps of the morning shift nurse. I knew the specific metallic click of the IV pump resetting. But the most brutal part wasn't the machines. It was the visitors. In the beginning, it was comforting. My friends would come in, hold my hand, and talk about everyday things. They told me about the weather. They told me they missed me. Those voices were my anchor to reality. They kept me sane. Then my family arrived. It happened on a Thursday. I knew it was Thursday because the hospital chaplain had just finished his morning rounds. My mother and my older brother Malik walked into the room. They didn't think I could hear them. Nobody does. They stood at the foot of my bed. The conversation started normal, but then the tone shifted. It became cold, calculative. "The lawyer said the insurance payout from the trucking company will be substantial," Malik whispered. His voice was entirely devoid of emotion. "But only if the medical bills don't drain the account first." "I know," my mother replied. I could hear the rustle of her tissues, but she wasn't crying. "The doctors keep saying there's a chance of recovery. But what kind of life is this? If we sign the non-resuscitation paperwork, the legal process moves much faster." I wanted to scream. I wanted to violently thrash my legs. I wanted to open my eyes and look at the woman who raised me. I was right there. I was alive. My mind was firing on all cylinders, but my vocal cords were completely paralyzed. A few days later, my business partner came to visit. We had built a digital marketing agency from scratch over the last 4 years. I trusted him with my life. He waited until the nurse left the room. Then I heard him step closer to my bedside. He placed a heavy hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry it had to end like this, partner," he muttered quietly. "But I've already transferred the primary domain rights to my personal LLC. By the time you wake up, if you wake up, the company assets will be entirely legally mine. There's nothing left for you here." The betrayal was a physical pain in my chest. My heart monitor began to beep faster. Beep, beep, beep. I heard him panic. He stumbled backward, knocking over a plastic cup. He quickly pressed the call button for the nurse, his voice trembling as he lied. "Excuse me, the machine is acting up. I think they're having a panic attack." The nurse rushed in. They checked my vitals, dialed back my medication, and told him to leave because the stimulation was too much for me. I wanted to thank that nurse. They saved my life. 2 days ago, the darkness finally cracked. It started with a twitch in my right index finger. Then a sharp surge of adrenaline forced my eyelids open. The fluorescent hospital lights blinded me for a second.
My throat was completely raw from the breathing tube, which had just been removed hours prior while I was semi-conscious. I was completely alone in the room. The silence was deafening. An hour later, the door clicked open. It was my mother and Malik. They walked in holding coffees, looking exhausted. When they saw me sitting up, staring directly at them, their faces completely drained of color. My mother dropped her cup. It spilled all over the linoleum floor. "Oh my God," she gasped, stepping forward with fake tears in her eyes. "Tav, you're awake! It's a miracle!" I didn't smile. I didn't cry. My voice was raspy, barely a whisper, but it cut through the room like a knife. "I heard everything," I said. Malik froze. My mother stopped dead in her tracks, her hand hovering over her mouth. "I heard about the insurance payout," I continued, staring my brother down. "And I heard about the paperwork you wanted to sign." The silence that followed was absolute. They didn't even try to deny it. They just stood there, completely exposed, realizing that their innermost greed had been broadcasted directly to the person they thought was slipping away. I looked at the nurse who had just walked in to check my vitals. "Please remove them from my visitor list," I told her. "And call my attorney. I have a lot of phone calls to make."